Hello, today we're going to have just a short session of two friends and musicians and pianists, I guess, who have worked together in Nagaland for a long time, and not just within our state, but I think we've had the great privilege and honor of just being involved in music within India and elsewhere around the world. And so thank you, Nise, for your time.
A pleasure. Thank you, Khyo.
And to be a part of course, we know Nise Meruno is going to be coming and performing at the Brillante Piano Festival in September and early part of October this year. But just having a conversation off the cuff, how have you kept yourself going all these years? You know, I've known you for, I think, like 20 plus years. And
are you going to reveal our age as well?
Plus, you know, I mean, of course, you're looking great, but beyond that, it's
likewise.
just the enthusiasm and the contribution that you're bringing to our music space in Nagaland, and how you've continued to just evolve and grow and be who you are. How has that journey been for you?
I think it's very simple that way, because I don't really have a manual book to explain that, but I think it's simple. I think a lot of people, we become complacent, and I'm somebody who is not complacent at all. And I keep telling my friends also that I don't want to have enough in a way. It's not that I want to keep struggling all the time.
Of course.
You and I also, sometimes we need to celebrate our little achievements here and there, and sometimes big glories as well, and just bask.
And that's important
in that moment, right?
Right.
So, but for me, I'm somebody who wants to keep pushing myself. And I think going back to you, I mean, maybe you started off as a music student, then you became a teacher, then you became a proprietor of a music school, then you got into events. So in a way, I'm also, following that kind of direction. I'm doing music, I'm doing fashion. After some time, maybe
you don't know.
I don't know what I'll do. I'll get into. But I think that is something that keeps us going. And the drive from within, I think it starts to show in our attitude, our personality, our energy. People would sometimes, let's just praise ourselves. People won't believe when we tell them our age also. I meet people and they're like, wow, you're that old.
Right, that old, oh God.
Ancient, But I think the drive, and we need to create that drive. A lot of people, I think we are always looking, or we are not even sure how we are going to derive that, or from where are we going to get that source of drive from, And we are driven people.
Right. I agree. And then I think you hit the point, no? When you are, I love this field, actually, this creative field that we are in, is because it's so limitless and creativity has no end, is inexhaustible, and you can continually keep drawing from wherever inspiration comes from. But the important thing is that you have to recognize it, at that, in whatever seasons in your life, and continue moving. Otherwise, I think we also lose that momentum, don't you think?
Exactly. I think sometimes, okay, it's very easy to start, a journey, but to keep that going, like you said, the momentum, I think that takes more courage, that takes more effort also to keep that going. And somehow I think we have found that mantra for ourselves. Maybe, I don't know how we do it, but we do it. And I know that maybe it could be just me hanging out with young people, or it could just me being, wanting to go out and explore maybe a village in Nagaland. Something of that sort keeps that momentum going. It's not like you and I being stuck inside a room with the piano and playing for hours.
And just static on one expression alone.
That's right. Then I think we will not be able to emote different kind of emotions. It will be just one. I mean, and that may not come across as something beautiful and palatable, because music doesn't have a shape. I always say music is like an amoeba in scientific term, It needs to have different shape. Even a piece of music that you and I would teach, maybe even our students, we may want them to play in a certain way, but you take them outside of the classroom and put them on a concert stage, that shape
dynamic.
is going to, everything's going to change again, right? So I think that is us. Art imitates life, and I think we are the perfect embodiment of that code.
Okay, that's so well put. And hey, so when you have observed, like you've worked with young people, you've worked with old people, different cultures and different stages. When you say village, that's what we do also. We go to the village and do, whatever random thing is required at that time. I think is not limiting yourself to saying that I will only be doing this and this and this. We can't put that type of box around this, no? So for you, having observed all through these years, coming to our scenario, because we always talk about Nagaland being so creative or be so talented, especially in regard to because we are both pianists, right? In regards to piano music, what are the things that are maybe areas that we can improve upon, our pianists basically, or our teachers, or the whole piano thing, What are the things you've observed that you want to comment on?
Yes, I mean, I think firstly, I would want to believe that we have come very far as the piano fraternity, the world is concerned. I mean, you started Brillante, this wonderful piano festival that is like getting a lot of national and even international attention. So congratulations to you and Brillante.
Yeah, I have an amazing team as well. And so that's able to fuel that,
And I'm glad you always acknowledge that. And this is also where I'm going to get into. A lot of people think that they have arrived and they can do things on their own. But there's like a whole village, working to make that happen for you.
Right.
It could be maybe your driver driving you to your class,
Absolutely.
Or it could be somebody making that breakfast for you, or whatever meal for you.
Yes.
Somebody taking care of your clothes, your parents, so many people, right?
Or a crew that's ready, to even give this. Go on.
Yes, exactly. You are getting me right. I'm glad you always get me before I even speak. So this is the telepathy that we share. Anyway, so I think the problem that we have is like a lot of people when they start get into piano nowadays, because they see these trending musicians on social media.
Right.
They already decide what kind of songs they want to play, they want to learn, or they say like, by this year I want to finish my grade 5 or grade 8. And I'm like, it's not for you to decide, When you come to me, I call the shots, right?
Right.
And if you cannot follow this kind of learning style, then most welcome to gracefully exit and go on to somebody else. That is one thing. And the other, when you talk about teachers, see, over the years, I've been saying, and I hope I don't sound obnoxious when I say this, See, it's been 10 years of my journey with Yamaha.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm still doing it. And I would be the happiest person if I can find somebody who can also get into Yamaha and become a Yamaha artist. I will not feel threatened. I will celebrate that day.
Awesome.
But the thing is, we don't have anybody. Like, I don't want to retire now. I see myself going strong for the next
I think there's no retirement for this field.
Unless they don't let me sign the contract. Anyway, so getting into teaching also. A lot of people, grade 8 is like,
Ultimate
the
finish,
benchmark.
khatam.
Yeah. After this, cholo, I'm going to start teaching. And that is the day they stop learning also. And that is exactly the reason why they are not able to produce excellent musicians, which is very sad.
One of the things that I learned from someone who was like a mentor to me was someone who told me that you cannot take people where you haven't been yourself. You need to actually be there in order to guide people to reach there, And so if you're trying to find your own discovery, like, you're saying, okay, like in the olden times when they should take the ship and try and find America, but they went to they're trying to find India and then they went to America and then even the countries, the name was, mixed up and all that like that. So we're not living in that zone anymore. We live in a very, cutting edge, fastly moving and fastly improvising, innovating type of culture scenario where you can get resources, you can get things for yourself. But at the same time, I think if we want to plan certain things in terms of education, or when it comes to being coached for performance and things like that, you do need someone who's been there and done that. Correct. So that you can not make the mistakes by wasting time going about here and there. No?
Correct.
Someone can guide you and say, hey, this one will work. And I think for you and I also, we have that intuitive thing where when somebody comes to you and they're talking already, and you see them, you already know what they need to have, what they don't need to, what they need to cut off, and what skills, where they can polish, and what they're good at, what they're not, you know. And that is a skill that's developed
That's
also,
what-
right? So
I so agree, and I think it can also be put into maybe something like this, you know, for them, these upcoming music students, it's for them just to simply follow the instructions that we give them. For you and I, we had to do a lot of trial and error method. Of course, we had the opportunity to go and study abroad as well, but we create these instructions, which requires more you know, like thinking, more effort. We create this instruction, we just give it to them.
right.
But in spite of that, some of them, they would want to just try some things, you know, a little bit wayward, and that's why I think things are not really going also in the right direction. However, because coming back to Brillante, I think Brillante that way, it's also really a time when we get to celebrate the joy of sharing and the gift of music with one another. I know there are a lot of things which we can keep on whining about. There are so many things that you and I would want it differently, right? And this is when we are like, hey, in spite of everything, this is the time when we come together. And I feel like a lot of people, they've also come to know of Nagaland and about us through this festival. We always talk about cultural ambassadors, you know, and displaying our folk dance and performing,
which is
good,
valid and very good, very important.
But I think this is also one way of really bringing, you know, the world to our land. So yeah.
Yes, because we do have a strong tradition and of this music as well, and it's something that can culturally and connect with a wider audience as well. And so maybe we're still trying to find more ways in which we can explode this this platform and this ability and resources that we have, the treasures we have within our own state, right? Which is the gifts that God has given.
Correct.
How people have been trying to make it grow. So along those lines, how have you kept yourself inspired then? Of course, you had teachers and mentors along the way. Then when it comes to inspiration and you have a certain change of direction, of course, you're still in the creative field, but there's always a change of direction that you go this way and then you focus on a certain thing, no? Like for now, I mean, the way you dress or your more, some focus and leaning towards fashion as well. And at the same time, but your music has not ended as well. It's just parallelly moving on, no? So how have you kept that balance as well? And for people who want to do that, how do they maintain their focus? Because you have to be have the ability to do multi stuff.
Yes.
And how do you do that?
This may come across as something funny and a bit strange also, but I want to believe that I am my own inspiration.
Okay.
I don't have, like a mom, dad, or friend, or this person, you know, as my inspiration. Of course, I grew up with some heroes in my life, you know, seeing like After Krele play the violin or Vivi play the piano, Patkai, my piano teacher,
Childhood.
late Mrs. Margaret Shishak, Nicolo Tsuzu. But now I think it's me. So in order to keep myself inspired, I need to, you know, because I am my own inspiration, I need to keep myself always on the run and on the go and keep improving myself. So I also, during lockdown, I also got into fitness, you know, that is also again to inspire myself. I got into fitness, I got into fashion, healthcare, everything. So I think this is, otherwise you could just be looking at your inspiration, you know, your inspiration from a distance, but you are never able to reach that point. So that is how I think you also get disappointed, and slowly it'll just fizzle out. So I would want to continue doing this for a while.
Right.
Yes, and like 5 years down the line, maybe even for me to dress like this, maybe I would never imagine. But now I know I'm very comfortable wearing this, and maybe after some time you will only see me in traditional shawls also. You know, I may go so deep into my cultural roots. So evolving is also something very important. Like again, going back to our music and our journey also. Maybe you and I, we have very strong classical foundation, which is good, and because of that, we are able to branch out to different
Any
types
genre,
of music, right? But now I would admit, and it's not embarrassing also for me to say that I will not be able to play a 90-minute or a 45-minute recital with just strict classical repertoire. Maybe I would need after 3-4 months, maybe I might get there. But now I want to play songs that speaks to me, that brings out the person that I am right now, and not something that I'm just trying to do to impress people. I think it's not about impressing people, it's about expressing yourself,
Right. And staying true to yourself, I think that's so important. You're honest about who you are, and also just expressing something genuine from yourself, whether it's in music or the things that you do, when they're genuinely coming out from the conscience is clear, then I think whatever we do, we impact. Automatically people are impacted. I think that's why I keep talking about, what the Brillante Piano Festival, how it began, just a local
Yes, that was
thing.
my question for you actually.
Right, okay.
Yeah, please go ahead. Tell us. Yeah.
So Brillante is a local event that has now become global in a way, and it just began with just the desire. I just really wanted to uplift our small piano community in Nagaland that needed some form of action to improve and to get platforms and to be inspired and to really have that synergy of performance and education all in one thing, and because of that, I think that is something that we basically hit the nail of what was needed. And so now with the traction, which is now a pan-India movement, and it has just grown. And not just with the piano segment, but also for this year, what I'm really excited is that we are able to include and offer this mainstream platform for specially abled musicians, And this is such a remarkable community.
Indeed.
Because God has given talent equally to everyone. It doesn't mean that if you're disabled, then there's an area, you're disabled in every faculties,
Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe people may be on, they may not show any physical disability, but there are other things, maybe emotionally, mentally, people are hampered by their own traumas.
Attitude also.
Yeah,
Bad attitude is also disability.
I think it's a disability. For me, I see that as a big disability because it closes your ability to learn, move forward, also connect with people, because you work with people no matter what. No matter how talented, I think sometimes we lose track that if I'm super talented, everyone will come to me. It's not like that, And so for this edition, having that, opening our doors and to really also say, hey, let's celebrate our beautiful community where they're just continuing to make such beautiful music. Plus, they can't even see us, watch them perform, some of them, because the blind musicians are coming and all. And yet, they're singing out of their hearts. No, it is so pure and so beautiful. We just, I know that you're going to you're going to cry when you come and see. And then everyone who comes, and it's not for a reason of making them an object. No, nothing like this, nothing patronizing. It's mainly to inspire and to motivate us through what the challenges that they've overcome and how far they are, and how music actually has no barriers. It actually has no barriers. It's going to include everyone and bring everyone forward. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And these are not planned, as you say, we don't plan, I'm going to do this at such time, fourth edition is going to be like that. I never plan it. It's just like...
I'm so glad you said that, Kyo.
Because it just...
Yes, even for lesson, I said I would want to have goals, but not lesson plan. What if, say, I teach piano and voice, especially, say, let's say voice. I have lesson number 23, and this is the lesson plan for the day. But if the student is not in a condition to sing, how am I going to fulfill that lesson plan?
You can't just...
Sometimes you just have to be open-minded and just sort of get the energy and then start going according to that.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to be intuitive and understand what can be done at that moment in that space. And I think it's also being sensitive to the whole thing,
It is.
Yeah, the human being who's entered the room for a solo session. If you're doing a group session, it's again different.
Different again.
And then when you have plans, but you don't have micro things like, oh, for 10 seconds I'm going to do that. After 1 minute I'm going to sit down. You can't do that because it has to be organic. It has to be alive.
So true.
Of
so
its
true.
own, a life flow of its own. And so what is the thing you're looking forward to at this during this edition? Because after the pandemic, the previous edition was online, as you remember. So now we've come after such a long gap in terms of having it live, and we're going to be having it at the Capital Cultural Hall.
Right.
You're going to be performing on the finale night.
Yes.
You're also representing Yamaha as their ambassador to give a very dynamic workshop where you are actually the best person to do that.
Thank you.
What goes through your head when you perform? Because you're going to give a workshop on stagecraft and performance, right? So give us a little peek into that.
Okay. Yes.
Pedagogy.
I don't have any rituals as such that I follow, but we should always remember that the audience is on your side.
Okay.
Yes, I think we sort of like get too threatened by the listeners, the audience, but we should remember that nobody would want to see you, like
Crumble.
Fumble. Like example, you and I, we would not want to see a car accident.
Of course.
It's like we are always want the best when we are making the time and effort to go there, So we want the best. And that is something that really kept me encouraged to be able to do my best. Recently, I was in Mumbai for a show. And then I was a little bit stressed because I wasn't doing too well also.
Okay.
But
you're physically well.
Physically I wasn't too well. So when I went there, I just told myself, I'm going to be sharing some of the music, the songs that I truly love. What can go wrong? And if music sometimes is too perfect, I don't think we are really able to bring out the beauty. I have this story which I heard again. I hope if I can share this.
Yes.
It seemed there used to be this family, in the from the Persian world, long time back, centuries back.
Who told you this story, I wonder?
Yeah, so it seemed
Don't make up. You're not making up, right?
No, not making up. It seemed they were so good with their craftsmanship, their handiwork.
Okay.
So they were asked to always make this design and make these rugs for all the royal family in the Persian world.
So lovely.
They were so intricate with their details, so fine, but they would always leave some threads untied, it seemed, which people won't notice. I want to cry as I'm sharing this. And this is because they believe and they acknowledge that only God can create perfect things. Isn't so beautiful?
Yeah, it is.
And this is not drama, I want to cry.
No, and yet we are all imperfect beings ourselves.
Yes,
why try and
correct. I think we are always over highlighting and in the pursuit of perfection. There's so much beauty in imperfection, in simplicity, and I think we should start going back to that. I feel Yeah. So this story has really inspired me. Supposing I play a wrong note, so what? Like I said, art imitates life. Life is not perfect. And I think that's just me, that moment when I tell people that I'm human, even though I'm a musician. I'm first a human being, then a musician, right? So I think that's very important.
And that's so beautiful.
And at the end of the day, this has also been something that I've been sharing with people whenever I get the chance, even non-musician friends. I have this quote that I came up with. Your arts can only be as beautiful as your heart.
Okay.
So if I have to explain that, it's because your art is an extension of who you are. So we all should strive to carry and nurture a beautiful heart, because whatever we create is going to show in our art. Just citing an example, when we know that somebody is very annoying and very full of attitude, irritating, and that person goes up on stage and sings with his eyes closed, hands up there, but I don't think you would be impacted or you'll be touched by that person's performance, because that he's all over the place. So to be able to become a good human being first of all, and then you start chasing other things, running after other things. I think that's very important.
I think that is such a pure way of looking at, you know, how art is supposed to be. I think that's very true. And yet I think, of course, sometimes we miss out that nurturing of the source from where it's coming out, you know. And then people are focused, maybe sometimes we focus on the aspect of the packaging so much that we lose out the heart. And yet
Beautiful.
and yet they're also successful, no? Don't you see sometimes?
Yes.
You know, there are people who are very famous and they may be having lifestyles or attitudes or backgrounds that are just broken, or of course imperfection, right? But then attitudes and all that, yet they deliver in terms of profession. But we
Yes.
don't know if it's art, you know, when you talk about art, it's very different from delivering a
So
show
true.
or a technical thing, you know, that can just be
Right.
at the push of a button, the lights go,
That
I
is-
just sing and I leave the stage. It's beyond
That's
that,
so
right?
true. So I think this is whatever I said, whatever you have shared, I think it's really taking people back to the root of how music started, you know? Like God gave human beings this gift. And I am very sure that this is how God would want people to create art. Even when I say create, sometimes I even go to the extent of saying like, you don't create
No,
art,
no,
you
just-
allow art to happen
Right,
in and
right.
through you. You cannot force,
You're
right?
serving the art form, you're serving music,
Yes.
which is not yours in a way.
Right. So you don't
right?
even create. You know, I mean, we almost like, for a lack of a better word, or maybe it's easier to understand, we say, let's create some beautiful music. But I think it's allowing music to happen. Like you are the channel and you allow it to happen in and through you.
Right. So beautiful. I think we can keep talking all
Yes,
day long,
yeah.
and there's so many other aspects
I
of
know.
it. Right. What do you enjoy doing when you're not doing art?
I am somebody, I think, who's very like bold when it comes to my social media stories and stuff like that. It's not that I'm trying to tell people that I have a fabulous life. I don't. Yeah, but to a large extent, I think I lead a very happy life. It's because I don't want to live a superficial life. Like I go to church on Sunday. Noontime, I already am posting, you know, so I would post a story of me being the church pianist in the morning. Afternoon is about me, my friends like sending me texts about what are you doing later in the evening. And by nighttime, it's me chilling with my friends. Of course, I'm very calculative about what I want, how much I want people to know about my lifestyle, but it is also in a way to let people know that it is okay, this is life. So I would post stories about me working out, me partying, me performing, me going to church and attending the church or playing the piano. So I think we need to have all these elements, you know, aspects in your life, and that makes you a true person. And this is when your art, when it's time for you to sort of allow or create, let's say art, it'll just come across as something that people can relate. I'm somebody who doesn't believe in trying to be relevant, trending sort of.
Okay.
But I think and at the same time, I've also read somewhere that we try too hard to please people with our art also, you know? It's like, I don't know if people would love this song. You know what? If I release this song and it's a flop.
But that's part of the journey, no?
Yes, exactly. I think you should just let it be. If you feel like it's time for you to let go of that art and for you to share that art with the world, just let it be. You shouldn't be too concerned about, after 1 hour checking how many views, how many likes, you know? It's okay, it's out there. Some of my songs are, I don't know how many, maybe 1-2K. After 4 or 5 years also, it doesn't matter because it doesn't define who I am. It doesn't define you, right? Like, because you run a school, does it mean that your school needs like 500 students, you know, annually?
No.
It doesn't.
Of course.
That one person's life that you can change, you know? I think that is what.
Right. The small
Success,
victories.
yes.
And success is measured very, very personally by other people, everyone, you know, they have their own yardstick of measuring success. And for you, of course, as you've said, success is not in numbers and in this and that.
Or that it's not even a destination, it's a journey.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And so for me also, I don't see that. I see the fulfillment of doing what I'm called to do, what I enjoy doing, what I love doing. And when I see that being reproduced or seeing it, then I am more than happy. So great. Thank you so much for just being here to have this off-the-cuff conversation. And we'll catch you during the festival.
Yes.
And please come with your troops.
For
of
sure.
people.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
You're
Such a
welcome.
pleasure. Yeah. See you.